pang-araw-araw na classmate ko. Kaya madlang ko, ano pa hinantay nyo? Sali na kayo. Sali na.
Bukod.
Hi.
Hello.
Hoy. Tatakay. Ilabas mo yan.
ATP Production.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Adjust ko latak microphone ha kay. Wait lang. Wait lang.
Ang barya sa bukas.
Okay. Let me first check the attendance. I wanted to turn on your microphone. We'll start from section Santol. Please say present once your name is called. Abusejo, Joshua. Abusejo. Abusejo. Anyosa, John Joseph.
Present.
Present. John Edward Are. Mark Kenneth.
Present po.
Earl Joseph Catalo.
Present.
Earl Dilantar. Earl Dilantar. Andre Labro. Andre. Lilia Renz. Rudolph.
Present.
Hans Rosalejos. Hans Rosalejos. Raidel Samson.
Present.
John Ray Trabaco. John Ray.
Present.
Princess Jane. Princess Jane Abelia. Kiera Adamas.
Present.
Kiera. Francine Alaya.
Present.
Hannah Amos.
Present.
Denise Apura. Denise.
Present.
Joselfe Banario.
Present.
Andrea Joy Beato. Andrea Joy. Cepeda Mishka. Cepeda. Sisista Kiana.
Present po. Present.
Jazzy Doldulea. Jazzy Ray Doldulea. Marian Dulfo. Marian. Christelle Angeli Factor. Christelle Angeli. Denisa Fuentes.
Present po.
Hyacinth Galupe.
Present.
Tricia Nicole. Tricia Nicole. Gapud. Angel Nadine Garcia. Angel Nadine. Liana Gura. Liana Marian. Hazel Hilaria. Hazel. Shira. Shira Habuli.
Present.
Charnet Latoha.
Present, ma'am.
Giselle Mendoza. Giselle. Jahara Montes.
Present, ma'am.
Jazel Padilla. Jazel. Pagayanan Isaiah. Isaiah Pagayanan. Alison May. Alison May.
Present po, ma'am.
Yeza Nicole. Yeza Nicole. Ninia Ramirez.
Present, ma'am.
Cherise Rijang. Cherise Rijang. Grace Log Sabido.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Ella Andrea. Ella
Present.
Andrea. Okay.
Present.
Okay. Mango, please say present once your name is called. Zion Apita.
Nine.
Zion.
Present. 9. Present.
Mark Bins Araba. Mark Bins. Mark Bins. Chad Banaldia.
Present.
Chad.
Present.
John David Bantiles. John David. Justin Bihar.
Present.
Justin. Lance
Present.
Gabriel. Lance Strobo. Lance. Dick, go. Dick Juno, go. Ernest Bon Hardillo.
Present.
Hardillo.
Present po.
Eugenio the Fourth, Malinaw. Christian Andre Marasigan.
Present.
Alexi Nicart.
Present.
Ugale, Jade Ugale. Carl Vincent Panis. Carl Vincent. Giselle Seso. Giselle. San Emmanuel Solayaw. San Emmanuel. Marie Vincent Uy. Marie Vincent. Erica Marie.
Present po, ma'am.
Lorraine Kim Abobo. Lorraine Kim Abobo. Zoe Afable.
Present.
Gail.
Present po.
Anna Ambil. Please turn off the microphone. Please turn off. Who is that? Anna Ambil. Raven Rose Amoyo. Raven Rose.
Present.
Joyce Ampong. Joyce Gail Ampong. Julia Apura. Julia.
Present.
Nash Astakaan. Nash. Nash. Angeline Colima.
Present.
Jan Antoinette Dator.
Present.
Krishna de los Santos. Krishna.
Present po, ma'am.
Jeslaine Jolola.
Present po.
Jeslaine.
Present po.
Aliana Lucena.
Present, ma'am.
Jillian Gapate. Jillian. Julia Guevara.
Present
Julia. Antoinette Lorraine Labado.
Present.
Maxian Marasigan.
Present.
Debbie Menzon.
Present po, ma'am.
Isabella Peralta.
Present, ma'am.
Francesca Promeda.
Present,
Francesca. Jaslyn Uno. Jaslyn Faith Uno. Riz Sakmar.
Present.
Angelique Suwal. Angelique Suwal. May I remind you of our first two activities, the plant and animal cells. As of now, only few have submitted the first two activities. Now you will again receive another activities in cell division. And that is due, I think, siguro 2 weeks from now. You will receive that on Monday. So 2 weeks from now, I want to receive it so I can check it at once and what's this? Grade will be given to you. Okay, now there are still students who have no record, who have no record yet. Summative test, the quizzes, and what's this? The activities. Now, please, I am reminding you and encouraging you to take the summative tests and submit activities as well. All of those are recorded. Your grade will rely on what you will submit to me. Okay. Okay, so today's discussion is ATP production or cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is actually making or cell producing energy from what it absorbs. Now, before we go to the lesson proper, let me call Alexi for the recap. Alexi, are you around? I think Alexi is present. Okay, so may we hear from you, Alexi?
Meiosis. Meiosis is comprised of 4 substages. Meiosis 1.
Wait. Alexi, wait lang. Hinot naka-on hin microphone. Please turn it off. Please turn it off. Please turn it off. Hello? Hello po. Aray, internet. Hello? Can you still hear me? Nag-fluctuate kasi internet today. Can you still hear me, class? Are you still there?
Yes po.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes po,
Now,
ma'am.
if your microphone is turned on, please turn it off. Kaya nakakabati ka na Alexi. Alexi will give us a short review or a summary about what we discussed yesterday. Okay, can you start again, Alexi?
Meiosis is comprised of 2 stages, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1 has 4 substages, prophase 1, anaphase, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. Prophase 1 is comprised of 5 substages, leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotene, and diakinesis. Leptotene is where the cell duplicates chromosomes. The duplicated chromosomes condense into long, thin strands that are more visible in the nucleoplasm. The zygotene is where synapses occurs. Homologous chromosomes pair to form a tetrad. Tetrad are bivalent two homologous chromosomes consisting of 4 chromatids. In pachytene, genetic exchange between 2 non-sister chromatids, maternal and paternal, through crossing over. The chiasma allows for the exchange of alleles, causes recombination of genetic information. In diplotene, synaptonymal complex is degraded and chromatids separate. In diakinesis is the final step of prophase 1, and where chromosomes condense, further nucleolus and nuclear membrane disintegrate, spindle fibers begin to form, microtubule kinetochore attaches to kinetochore of centromere. In metaphase 1, homologous pairs align along the equatorial plane or metaphase plane. In anaphase 1, spindle fibers shorten. Homologous chromosomes move to opposite poles and cell elongates. In telophase 1, homologous chromosomes arrive at the poles. Spindle fibers disappear and new nuclei and nuclear membranes appear. Cytokinesis occurs. And in meiosis 2, there are 4 substages: prophase 1, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2.
Okay. So let me add that in meiosis 2, the process is very much the same to that of mitosis. Okay. So thank you for that, Alexi. Okay, so can we proceed now to the next topic? Again, as what I said, our next topic is ATP production. ATP production is this process where cell makes use of the food it absorbs to release the energy in it, a process we call as cellular respiration. So today's topic is focused on how cell produces adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Okay, so for today's discussion, we will be guided with these objectives. First is to discuss its step in ATP production. Discuss its step in ATP production. Next is list down the number of ATP produced in every stage of ATP production. Know the significance of ATP in a living cell. So these are, I am hoping that all of these objectives will be met or will be met rather after the discussion. Okay. Okay, so commonly asked questions when cellular respiration is discussed. So what is ATP? What is ATP? Another question, another common question is, how does the body produce ATP? How does the body produce ATP? What stage produces the most ATP? What stage produces the most ATP? And why is ATP important? Now, I just hope that all of these commonly asked questions will be answered after the discussion. What is it, ATP in the first place? So ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. ATP is actually an acronym for adenosine triphosphate. A for adenosine, T for tri, P for phosphate. Adenosine with 3 phosphates attached to it. Okay, so adenosine triphosphate is simply 3 phosphates attached to an adenosine compound. So if this is adenosine, attached to it is 3 phosphate molecules. Okay, so adenosine, 1, 2, 3, triphosphate. So that is ATP. The main product of cellular respiration is ATP. Again, the main product of cellular respiration is ATP. Actually, the main goal of cellular respiration, which is a very important process in the cell, is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, this is the energy currency of cells, the energy currency of cells. Kung iton aton, kung kita nabubuhi kita, if we have money, ayan ang panahon, you can't live without money because everything is being bought. Water, we buy water, kulang lala siguro pagpalitin hangin. Bisa nga rin na at hospital mapalitkan hangin pag oxygen, especially if you will be if you are intubated or if you are dependent on oxygen, so itong hangin pinapalit. So in cells, ATP is very important. It is because it is where energy is where cells get energy. So it is through ATP that cells live in the first place. The source of energy of cells. So again, in ATP is the energy. And ATP makes life possible for cells. Okay, so that is all about ATP. Ways by which ATP is produced. Ways by which ATP is produced. So one way is through aerobic respiration. Another way from which ATP is produced is through anaerobic respiration. So again, there are 2 ways by which ATP can be produced. One is aerobic respiration, which requires oxygen. Aero means air, which actually refers to oxygen. Aerobic respiration produces more adenosine triphosphates. Aerobic respiration produces more ATPs and is only possible in eukaryotes. Okay. Or can be possible in eukaryotes. Now, the opposite is true in anaerobic respiration. So anaerobic respiration is actually the exact opposite of aerobic respiration. If anaerobic requires oxygen to produce ATP, anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen, meaning oxygen is not needed for the cell to produce ATP. Okay. If ATP in aerobic if more ATPs are produced in aerobic respiration, now in anaerobic respiration, because oxygen is not needed during the process or oxygen is not required during the process, it produces less ATPs. Okay? Here, more ATPs are produced because oxygen is present. In anaerobic respiration, because of the absence of oxygen, ATPs produced are lesser as compared to aerobic respiration, and possible in prokaryotes, though eukaryotes can also produce ATP without requiring oxygen, but it is only done in emergency cases. Okay. Okay. The part of the cell or the organelle that processes food to release energy is the mitochondrion. So it is the mitochondrion where, again, as what I have said, where food is processed to release the energy that the cells need or the cell needs. Okay, in other words, it is in the mitochondrion where cellular respiration occurs. Okay, so let's take now the structures in the mitochondrion. Ano ba ang nasa mitochondrion that it can able to release energy in food? Okay, so we have it here. This part of the mitochondrion is the outer membrane. So kung may ada outer membrane, of course, or definitely there is an inner membrane. Again, the outermost or the outward membrane or the outermost membrane is this. And there is another membrane that is found inside the organelle, and we call it as the inner membrane. In between the inner membrane and the outer membrane is the inner mitochondrial space. Again, in between the inner membrane and the outer membrane is the inner mitochondrial space. Inner mitochondrial space. So, may add the space. Now, the inner membrane folds or is folded, and the folded part is called as cristae. Cristae, there cristae, ha? Cristae. So we pronounce it as cristae. Okay, now inside the cristae is a gel-like substance which we call as matrix. Okay, again, we have the parts of the mitochondrion, the outer membrane, the inner membrane. In between is the inner mitochondrial space. The folded inner membrane is called as the cristae, and inside it is the matrix. Now, all of these part, or each of these part, each part of the mitochondrion plays a vital role in cellular respiration. In other words, all of these parts of the mitochondrion play a vital role. They play a very important role in the production of adenosine triphosphate, a process we call as cellular respiration. Okay, cellular respiration. Okay. Take down notes. Please take down notes. I hope you are still there. Dere nakakampante ko, wala ko kinikita nga kuan. Parang halos lahat kayo naka-off ang camera. Please turn it on. Sige, direct mabalik pag-discuss. Kung direct nyo turn on it camera. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, bangin mo lang naginakan na ngayon tao. Anyway. Okay, so again, the mitochondrion is the organelle in the cell where cellular respiration takes place. And in cellular respiration again, ATP is produced. Okay. Now, as a process, cellular respiration involves certain stages. It involves certain stages. The first stage is glycolysis. So the first stage is glycolysis. The second stage is Krebs cycle. And the third stage is electron transport chain, ETC for short. Okay, glycolysis, the first stage, Krebs cycle, the second stage, and ETC, the third stage for cellular respiration. Again, as a process, cellular respiration involves certain stages. May adala niya tulo ka stages to produce adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so in glycolysis, it produces ATP. So with Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, all of these stages are able to produce adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Mag-iba-iba la ito number. Okay? Okay. As we go on with the discussion, you will notice I will be talking or using certain terminologies. These are actually technical terms with acronyms in it. Something like ATP, so that simply means adenosine triphosphate, ADP for adenosine diphosphate, PYR for pyruvate acid, PYR, pyruvate or pyruvate acid, or simply pyruvic or pyruvate, pyruvic acid, pyruvate. Okay, so PYR ito here. NAD for nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. NAD for nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. NADH for nicotinamide adenine diphosphate hydrogen. Nicotinamide adenine diphosphate hydrogen. Of course, everybody knows CO2, which means carbon dioxide. CO2 for carbon dioxide. Acetyl-CoA or acetyl coenzyme A. So acetyl coenzyme A. Now, all of these terminologies will be used as we proceed with the discussion. Okay, so we will be using these terminologies as we go on with the discussion. Okay. Okay na, shall we proceed? Okay, glycolysis. The first stage of cellular respiration is glycolysis. Glyco, which means sugar. Glyco, which means sugar. Lysis, which means to split or to separate. Putting it together, glycolysis is simply the separation of sugar to produce ATP or ATPs. Okay. So in glycolysis, glucose, which is actually a simple sugar, glucose is a simple sugar. This is the basic unit of a carbohydrate molecule. Actually, itong type of sugar that can pass through the cell membrane, the glucose. This is a simple sugar. Okay, now in glycolysis, sugar splits or separates in order to produce 2 molecules of ATP. Okay, or adenosine triphosphate. Now, the first step in anaerobic respiration is glycolysis. First step. Actually, glycolysis. Okay. So the first step, glycolysis in generally is the first step in cellular respiration. Okay, so the first step in anaerobic respiration is glycolysis. It occurs in the cytosol, outside the mitochondria of the cell. So if this is the cell, hala, mag-draw ako yung cell ha, mag-draw. I'll draw cell. This is the nucleus. This is the mitochondrion. Okay, now glycolysis occurs in the cytosol outside the mitochondrion or outside the mitochondria of the cell. In other words, Krebs and etc. occur inside the mitochondrion. Of the 3 steps in cellular respiration, only glycolysis occurs outside the mitochondrion. So it happens, the process happens or occurs in the cytoplasm or in the cytosol. Okay? So it happens in the cytosol. Okay na? Okay. Now, glucose is a 6-carbon molecule. 6-carbon molecule. So this is a sugar with 6 carbons. A simple sugar with 6 carbons. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6. Okay. So 6 carbon molecules of or in glucose. Kanina nasa kita. In glycolysis, glucose is separated. It splits into 2. it splits into 2. So ini nga 6 carbon sugar madidivide hiya, matutunga hiya to produce 2 molecules of a 3 carbon compound. 3 carbon compounds, duha nga 3 carbon compounds. Ini naman nga iya product, pag split itong glucose, it will be able to produce glyceraldehyde phosphate. Glyceraldehyde phosphate or G3P. G3P. So meron nga na 3, so 3 phosphates in it. So carbon, tulong nga carbon for every glyceraldehyde phosphate. We also call it as GAP. GAP. So GAP for glyceraldehyde phosphate. Glyceraldehyde. Glycer. This is for aldehyde and this is for phosphate or GAP. Okay. So a 3 carbon sugar or a 3 carbon compound. Again, pag split itong sugar, pag split itong glucose, which is a 6 carbon molecule or a 6 carbon sugar, pag split niya, pag divide niya, pag bulag nira, or katunga nira, it will be able to produce these compounds. Okay, this one. And this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in one molecule of glucose, again, in one molecule of glucose, it will produce 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde phosphate, or simply 2 molecules of GAP. Okay, now, as a process, energy is needed. Remember that cell, inside the cell are so many chemical reactions. There are so many chemical reactions occurring, dahil itagdudurungan ng mga chemical reactions. And all of these reactions, all of cellular activities need energy. And energy we get, the cell gets energy from adenosine triphosphate. That's how important cellular respiration is. That's how important ATP production is for the cell. Okay. Anot iya source? To make ATP, glucose. Glucose. Masing ka naman, mamay mat kukuha nga glucose. What do you think? Where do you think cells get glucose? Where do you think cells get glucose, class? Anot atong source itong glucose in the first place? Anybody? May malak naghihinalabap tapos dara ka mo maaram kung anot glucose. Hain itong glucose, anot hiya. Anybody? Any volunteer?
Sugar.
Yes, of course, a sugar. So hain taman iton aton. For us Filipinos, what is our source of sugar?
From
food.
Sweets.
Sweet.
Days.
Sugar cane.
Sige daw, hain pa. What is our main source of sugar? What is our main source of glucose?
Rice. From
Very good. Rice. Rice. It is rice. We are rice-eating people. Rice is a carbohydrate food. Carbohydrate is very complex. It is a complex sugar. Okay. Now, the basic unit of a carbohydrate molecule is glucose. Carbohydrate, starch. Starch is carbohydrate. Glucose is carbohydrate ngayon. So, itong carbohydrate kasi, damo itong hirang klase. There is what we call as polysaccharide. So, meron nga ni polysaccharide, damo hiya. So, meron nga ni polysaccharide. Ano ha? Poly ano? Saccharide. Batak spelling, single double C or Asa ba? Polysaccharide or double S, single
Double
C?
C po.
So okay, nahiya. Now, starch is a carbohydrate food. Starch is carbohydrate food, which is made up of many glucose molecules that are joined together. Sa tiya, damo pa itong damo pa nga glucose.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Ma'am, di ka po binabate.
Okay, wait lang
Ma'am,
ha,
nakamute
kay
ka.
adit amundog nag-inusig I know, masuot katalinga para iyo. Okay, hinoyo na. Hinoyo na. Okay na. Okay. So, starch, di ba itong rice, starch itong hiya? Starch is a polysaccharide. Starch nga ni, diri pa itong hiya pwede pass through a cell membrane. It is not allowed to pass through the cell membrane. So this starch must be digested. It must be digested. As may adata digestive system, so that food that we eat can be broken down into simpler substances or soluble substances. And the soluble substance of starch is glucose. So meron nga glucose, usana la iton hiya. Simple sugar. Glucose is a simple sugar. So meron nga simple sugar. Simple sugar. So meron nga simple sugar. It is only made up of one glucose molecule. Made up of only one glucose molecule. Usan na la. So damo pa nga nga glucose darati makakasulod ha cell membrane. Remember that cell membrane is very choosy. It is very selective. Okay, so this complex sugar must first be digested for it to become a simple sugar. Glucose is a simple sugar, which is basically made up of 6 carbon molecules. Okay, now. When we eat rice, we become energized, right? When we eat rice, when we eat bread, when we eat carbohydrate containing food, we become energized simply because there is energy in those foods. Okay, so the cell will process the food to release the energy in it. A process we call as cellular respiration. Okay, we go back. When in glycolysis, where glucose splits to form 2 molecules of gap, energy is needed. Okay. In other words, para mahinabo itong glycolysis, the cell needs energy. And that energy comes from adenosine triphosphate. Now, during glycolysis, in every molecule of glucose, 2 ATP molecules are used. 2 ATP molecules are used. When glucose splits to form 2 molecules of GAP or glyceraldehyde phosphate, it is able to produce 4 ATP molecules. 4 ATP molecules. Again, pag split hini, pamati ka mo. Pag split hini ng glucose, so ma-split na ito niya, magbubulag ito niya. Makakahimu hiya duha nga gap. Duha nga gap. For this process to occur, magamit hiya hin 2 ATPs. Pero, when sugar or when glucose splits to form 2 gap, it is able to produce 4 ATPs. 4 ATPs. Ano? Karan ay nahihimo na adenosine triphosphate?
4
Total.
ATPs.
Okay, 4 ha, 4. It will be able to produce 4 ATP molecules. Kaya lang, as what I've said just a while ago, in glycolysis, 2 ATP molecules are used. So 4 minus 2, kay ginamit man parahan process, pira naman la iton iya magiging net ATP molecules produced. Pira naman la.
2 ATP.
Very good. 2 ATP molecules. Duha na la. Okay? The total ATPs that are produced are 4 or is 4. The total number is 4. But the process needs 2 ATP molecules. Okay? So itong iya magiging net gain is only 2. Okay? Masin ka naman. Mamtigang manit hiya diin nga ATP. Kaya ano nga nahimo iton hiya? Okay. This ATP actually comes from adenosine diphosphate. Adenosine diphosphate. Adenosine, pipara itong phosphate nga naka-attach sa iya. In adenosine diphosphate.
2.
Very good. 2. Duha. Adenosine diphosphate. Now, when glucose splits into 2, the phosphate is also become energized. Diba? Nagamit yan ATP. Nagamit yan ATP. There is energy in ATP. So, that energy will be absorbed by the phosphate. The phosphate will become energized and it will attach with the 2 phosphates here as siya nga makakahimuhiya in adenosine triphosphate as siya nanhiya. Nakuha? Okay? Meaning, inihiya nga phosphate, naka-join hiya din yan adenosine diphosphate because of energy. Nag-absorb kasi yan energy. Okay, so nag-absorb yan energy. So may ada itong energy between the last 2 phosphates. So may ada dida ha, hinumdum ka mo, may ada hindi ni energy. Kasi na-attach ining hiya nga phosphate, kaya nag-absorb hiya yung energy. Okay? So that is glycolysis. Okay. Masing ka naman kayo nung upat na itiya, dida. Kaya nung upat na itiya, di ba? Originally, pera na produce na ATPs in 1 molecule of glucose?
4.
4. So ito niya nga 4 ATPs actually come from 4 adenosine diphosphate. In other words, upat nga phosphates will become energized. Its energy